Welcome into the show. Let's do this thing. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, I greatly appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And coming up, we're going to have a conversation here about this Eagles defense and whether or not Howie Roseman needs to make a move for an edge rusher. Philadelphia is 28th in sack percentage through 2 games. They are 27th in sack rate. So should Howie Roseman seriously explore bringing back Haason Reddick, and could Jadeveon Clowney be a trade option as well? Because right now he's rotting away for an awful Carolina Panthers team. To begin, let's fittingly pop up today's poll question. Are you concerned about this Eagles defense? If you are, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If not, I want you to comment why. Maybe you think it's still early. If you just want to use the comment section to vent your frustrations, that's what it's for. And we always love going back and reading what you have to say, because I know Eagles fans, they know ball. All right. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles have big defensive issues. And through 2 games, this Eagles defense cannot get pressure on the quarterback. They cannot stop the run, and they are getting nothing from their defensive line and nothing from their edge rushers. What's crazy is that through 2 games, Zack Baun leads the Eagles in sacks. He's a linebacker, and both of those sacks came in the season opener against the Green Bay Packers. Along the defensive line, there is only 1 player who has a sack, and that's Milton Williams, who finally got to Kirk Cousins on Monday night. That's unacceptable, considering all of the draft picks that the Eagles have used along the defensive line, the money that Howie Roseman is paying to the likes of Bryce Huff, who right now is in the witness protection program, to Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. The fact that the Eagles have 3 sacks with this much talent, with Vic Fangio being the defensive coordinator, and the fact that the linebacking play has exceeded expectations, and the secondary has been better than we anticipated, it just simply can't happen. And these Eagles defensive rankings are straight up horrible. As Charles Barkley would say, man, these Eagles defensive rankings are terrible. They are tied for 32nd in yards per play allowed. Philadelphia is 29th in quarterback hits, 28th in sack percentage, 28th in TFLs, 27th in sack rate. Philadelphia is giving up 6.4 yards per carry. That is dead last in the NFL. They've manufactured quarterback pressures, 23rd among 32 teams. And Vic Fangio just has to find a way to do a better job as the defensive coordinator. And Vic Fangio has never been a big blitzer. But as we progress here throughout the course of the 2024 season, he might have to start dialing up some pressure if that's the only way for the Eagles to sack, get pressures, and get hits on the quarterback to speed their process up. Because so far, Jordan Love and Kirk Cousins have dropped back, and they've had all day to survey the field, go through their progressions, and pick apart this Eagles team. And then running backs are just running right through the teeth of this Eagles defense. This is embarrassing. This is an organization that had great defenses under Buddy Ryan, with the likes of Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Seth Joyner, Chuck Bednarik way back in the day. I grew up watching Jim Johnson defenses with Hugh Douglas, Hollis Thomas, Javon Curse, Brian Dawkins, Jeremiah Trotter, Lito Shepherd, Troy Vincent, Sheldon Brown. The fact that this Eagles defense is this horrible is disrespectful to the city of Philadelphia and this entire fan base. And the issue that we're seeing right now is that the Eagles can't get home with 4. So while Vic Fangio doesn't want to blitz, he might have to dial up pressure to make the quarterback's job more difficult. And what I don't get, and what's perplexing to me, is that during the preseason, what do we talk about? Vic Fangio was putting together blitz packages for his defense. He was dialing up the pressure. He was putting extra men in the box to confuse the opposing quarterback. Regular season comes around, he goes back to his norm. You have to adapt and evolve in life, in business, and in football. And I had somebody ask me here at Chat Sports the other day, is Vic Fangio a washed product? He wasn't good with Miami last year. It's been a long while since his defenses were the cream of the crop in the National Football League. Remember in 2018, that Chicago Bears defense was great, but they were able to get after the quarterback because they had pass rushers who could do that, led by Khalil Mack. So this is a personnel issue, it's a scheme issue, it's a play calling issue, it's all of the above. So naturally, we have to once again have this conversation. An easy name to bring up is Haason Reddick, because Philadelphia traded him away. They signed Bryce Huff away from the New York Jets, and I like the addition of Bryce Huff when the Eagles made that move at the time. But right now, he's looking like the next version and iteration of Nnamdi Asomugha, Byron Maxwell, and some of the other stiff free agents that the Eagles have signed over time. But with Haason Reddick, you know what you're going to get. And that's one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League. Now, he's holding out still, but he continues to lose a lot of money. The Eagles gave up a third-round pick, which can become a second. That's not going to happen any longer because he's already missing time. In 2022, the Eagles signed him to a 3-year, $45 million contract, but the final year of his deal is non-guaranteed at 14 and a quarter. And he is tied for 19th in average annual value among edge rushers, so he wants some guaranteed money and or a contract extension. The Jets haven't given that to him, so he said, you know what? I'm just going to stay away. So the Eagles traded him away on March 29th. He held his introductory press conference with the Jets on April 1st, and they have not seen him since then. It's pretty wild. But with Reddick, this is a player who can impact the game. I mean, he was one of, if not the MVPs of the Eagles defense in 2022 when they put together a 70-sack season, which was 15 more than any other team in the NFL, and they finished atop the league in sack production. But the last 2 years, where has this pass rush gone? And it's not like this team doesn't have talent, but the coaching has been bad and the players haven't stepped up. Most sacks over the last 4 years going into 2024. So this doesn't account for what these players have done so far this year. But look at where Reddick is. He's 6th on this list, behind the likes of TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, and Trey Hendrickson. Those are all Pro Bowl Defensive Player of the Year players right there, and Reddick is in that category. Last year, I understand that there was a dip in his production. I understand that Fletcher Cox ripped him after the year and talked about how he played outside of the scheme and he was chasing sack numbers. You know what the Eagles need right now, though? Sacks. Is it a little bit of a red flag that nobody, once Reddick was traded, came out and said, we really miss him. This wasn't a good move. He's going to be missed with this organization. Yeah, it's a little bit of a red flag. But you know what's also a red flag? When you can't get after the opposing quarterback. And even in a down year last year, Haason Reddick still hurried the quarterback 41 times. He had 13 quarterback hits. The season prior, when he had 16 sacks as compared to 11 last year, his numbers were actually lower. Now, the Pro Football Focus numbers went down year over year, but I think that Haason Reddick would be able to help this team. And initially, it looked as though Howie was a genius for making the series of moves that he did earlier this calendar year and during this offseason. You trade Haason Reddick to the Jets. Now it looks as though he might not even play for the Jets. You poach Bryce Huff away from New York. He's still a young player coming off a 10-sack campaign. But was that a mirage? Was that a flash-in-the-pan season? Because not only is Bryce Huff not getting a ton of snaps, Vic Fangio clearly doesn't trust him. He's getting bullied by tight ends. He can't even find his footing. And he said after the game, once the Eagles lost to Atlanta, I just have to lock in? You have to lock in? My man, you got $34 million in guaranteed money. This is not the city where you say that. Get your shit together. And for Philadelphia, they have to get their shit together on the defensive side of the football. If not, going to be a long year. We're only ramping up here on the show. I have a challenge for everybody. Can we get to 84,000 subscribers right here on Eagles Now prior to Sunday? We are 491 people away from that number. My goal this year is to get to 100,000 subscribers to get that silver plaque from YouTube. So hit that sub button, and what you get when you subscribe and hit that bell icon is daily coverage on the Philadelphia Eagles. Our sponsor for today's show, our friends at Game Time. I love going to sporting events. It's something that led to me falling in love with sports. And that's why I wanted to get into broadcasting, because I quickly realized I'm a good athlete, but I'm not going to be a professional athlete. I also love going to games. You can put together memories with people who you really care about, but also meet some new people. And they are memories that are going to last a lifetime. And Game Time will help you put those memories together. You can also get in the door with the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, thanks to our friends at Game Time. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can access tickets from your phone. You can also easily resell tickets. If you want to go to Eagles Saints this weekend, Eagles Bucks next weekend, Eagles Browns at home in a few weeks, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. I love the Game Time picks because curation makes it easier to find the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. So we're going to put all of this information down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. What time is it? Game time. So what I was getting to a little bit earlier was the acquisition of Bryce Huff and how Howie Roseman was made to be a genius. On that same note, Howie Roseman's fingerprints are all over this defense. And this is a defense that the last couple of years has not been good. And his biggest addition on the defensive side of the football this offseason in free agency was Bryce Huff. And so far, he's living up to the number 0 that he wears. You know why? Because he has 0 sacks, 0 quarterback hits, 0 hurried throws, 0 TFLs, 0 solo tackles, and 1 assisted tackle. Through 2 games, after getting $34 million in guaranteed money, all that Bryce Huff has done for this Eagles defense that can't get after the quarterback and doesn't have a sack along the defensive line outside of Milton Williams, he has 1 assisted tackle. And Howie Roseman has spent big along the defensive line. That's why this is unacceptable. He gave Bryce Huff $17 million per year. He used a first-round pick on Jordan Davis. He used a first-round pick on Jalen Carter. He used a first-round pick on Nolan Smith. He's paid Josh Sweat a lot of money. So while Howie Roseman does a lot right for this Eagles organization, he has been able to stockpile offensive firepower. He is a magician with pulling off salary cap gymnastics and managing the cap. He's pulled off some highway robbery trades. He continues to struggle with building up the Eagles' defense. Part of the reason, he doesn't really spend a lot of financial capital on the defensive side of the football. Among the 32 teams in the NFL, the Eagles are 26th in defensive spending, $93.83 million. These figures going into 2024. Along the defensive line, only 17th. Linebackers, 28th among 32 teams. Cornerbacks, Howie does like to invest in corners, 9th. A lot of that money, James Bradbury, who's a cooked product, and he's hurt. And then at the safety spot, 30th in positional spending at the safety position. So while Howie Roseman has done some great things, he's one of the best executives in football, helped bring this organization a Super Bowl. They just made it to another one back during the 2022 season. The biggest hole on this team right now and the biggest concern is the defense, and Howie Roseman continues to struggle with building and putting together a championship-level defense. Last year, despicable, the defensive play that we saw and the coaching that we saw. And this year, it's not off to a good start. Which brings us to this. Should the Philadelphia Eagles trade for Jadeveon Clowney? He's signed with his hometown Carolina Panthers. He's coming off a year last year with the Baltimore Ravens in which his sack production was really good. And he's playing and rotting away for the worst team in football. Could he be an option? For me, a lot of people have asked me this question. I'm not sure if Jadeveon Clowney is a scheme fit. He's more of that prototypical 4-3 defensive end who can also have some versatility to his game, slide to the interior, and play a little bit of defensive tackle. Vic Fangio likes to drop his edge rushers back in coverage, and Jadeveon Clowney at this point of his career, that's not his strength. But last year, he did have 9.5 sacks for a very well-coached Baltimore Ravens defense. 2 sacks the year prior. Wasn't good. The year before that, though, in 2021, He had 9 sacks. So this is a name to maybe monitor as we approach the NFL trade deadline. And he's also a very affordable player who gives this team some experience, some chops, some swagger, some physicality. And right now, they just need players to push the pocket. At the very least, can we at least look in-house? The Philadelphia Eagles have Devin White on this roster. He was a healthy scratch against Atlanta, and while he might struggle in coverage and defending the run, and his Pro Football Focus numbers as an off-ball linebacker may have been bad the last 4 years, what is he good at? Blitzing and rushing the quarterback as a pass rusher. At the very least, can we try him off at edge rusher? Can he pin his ears back and just try to speed rush the quarterback? We know that he can at least drop back in coverage a little bit. Vic Fangio wants his edge rushers to drop back in coverage. Can we look at 45? Because right now this defense needs something. They need some juice. Be sure to give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chase_Senior. Approaching 14,000 followers on X. 33,000 followers on IG. Really appreciate all the support. And we'll continue to give you great content, win or lose for the Birds, right here on Eagles Now.